All right, welcome back at long last, everybody. By which I mean nobody to the Triple Doink podcast.
So
Um,
self-demeaning.
yeah, well, that's kind of my thing. Um, so each week I try to pick out like the best, if not like a game-winning throw. If there's no game-winning touchdowns, I try to pick like the best throw of the week or like one that sticks out and use that for this intro. And this week, I can happily say that I am joined. My name is Ryan, and I'm joined by my friend Bryce, the Gardner Minshew to my Raquel Armstead. That play was pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's to like. I don't think you realize how much I replayed that game and how many times I looked at those highlights and like I have I. It's just a better Tony Romo. It's
Yeah,
he's
he
just
looks
so
like a
good.
real quarterback. I'm excited. But anyway, we'll talk more about the Jaguars obviously when we get into this. Um, and of course, we now have moved the "How have you been" segment to the end of the show, so we're going to jump into the games. But before we do that, there's a couple of other notes that I want to touch on.
All right,
So
hit
first,
me with it.
these are going to seem very disjointed and unrelated, but first note: home teams this week 4-11.
Yeah, 4-12. I heard about
4
that.
and 11. 4-11. There were only 15 games played.
That's I swear. That's what I said. I swear.
Okay. The Bears, Giants, Saints, and Steelers all won at home. The rest of them, the home teams, all lost. So a very wild week for anybody who had any expectations of any results going the way they thought they would go. That was a weird. That was a weird, rambling sort of thing.
I understand. Don't worry. I
Anyway,
got it. Yeah. All right.
we got 7 results correct out of 15. So for the first time, less than half.
Yes. Yeah. Sadly, one of those.
Yeah. Sadly, one of those being the Packers.
Oh yeah, of course. That's the one that's we're really sad about.
Well, it's for me it is. But anyway, the other one that I'm really sad about, of course, is Lions and Chiefs. And damn, did they come close? And we'll get to that.
Yeah,
that'll be the first Sunday game that we talk about.
Yes.
And before we get to that, though, a couple more notes. First thing is, now, as our listeners, as longtime listeners know, I often have connection issues when we are recording these podcasts, and every once in a while, Bryce will cut out, and usually I can piece together what he says because I'll only miss a word or two. But last week, I seemed to miss an entire question that you asked and just like continued as though you had never said anything. What you said is, aren't there 3 Bosas and one of them is a fullback? And I just didn't hear that and just kept going. And, okay, so first of all, there are 3 Bosas, but one of them is the dad. Joey Bosa, who plays for the Chargers, Nick Bosa, who plays for the 49ers. Their father was also a defensive end, and they're essentially the defensive equivalent of the Mannings. So there's that. But what you were thinking of, I think, is the 3 Watt brothers. JJ, who plays for the Texans, TJ, who plays for the Steelers, and Derek, who is a fullback for the Chargers.
Yes, Derek Watt was who I was thinking of.
Yes. So that is cleared up now. And, of course, I know this because they all played for Wisconsin.
Yes,
so
that's what I thought. That's why I asked you.
Right. Anyway, that's that correction. And then last note before we get into the games, the scoring this week was interesting. There were 2 scoregamis.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we have to talk about that whenever it comes up.
Los Angeles Rams, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Cleveland Browns, Baltimore Ravens.
Correct. Yeah, and it's rare that we get 2 in 1 week. But yeah, 2 scoregamis. And I will come back to the scoregami discussion when we talk about one of these games because I have a gripe with a certain player for one of those teams for scoring a touchdown, but we'll get into that.
Um,
I know
alright.
that sounds very mysterious.
Talking about Mark Andrews or something?
No.
I didn't know if you played against Nick.
No. It had nothing to do with fantasy. I got blown out by Kellen.
Yeah, I
fantasy.
saw that. I lost because of the D.D. Westbrook Gardner Minshew play, by the way.
Yeah.
So I was
not
happy.
a bad way to lose.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm always okay with losing in fantasy if the Packers beat me somehow.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But anyway, so speaking of the Packers, let's get into the games and let's start with Thursday night, Eagles at Packers. I have a lot to say about this game, but
let it out.
Well, do you have anything that
let it
you want to
out.
get out about this
let
game
it
first?
out. Let
You
it
just want
out.
me to go? Okay,
I'm
I'll get
interested.
All right. So I actually came away from this game, even though, of course, the Packers lost, and it's never good to lose. I actually came away from this game feeling pretty good about the Packers and where they are, because in this game, the offense was effective for the duration of the game. And yes, they had a couple of drives that stalled inside the 5-yard line, which is never what you want. They got inside the 5 twice and came away with 0 points in the fourth quarter. And obviously, that's not good. But the offense was actually moving the ball. And it was interesting because they kind of got away from the Matt LaFleur style of run the ball down their opponent's throat and got back into more shotgun and just let Aaron Rodgers do his thing. And it really kind of looked, even though a lot of Packers fans don't want to admit it, it looked a lot like Mike McCarthy's offense. And it was effective against the Eagles. The Eagles' run defense is very good, and the Packers could not get it going on the ground. And I credit LaFleur for adjusting and just letting Aaron Rodgers play his game, you know? So that's the positive that I feel coming out of this game. The offense looked good. Now that said, there is a lot of negative also.
Mainly that if Devontae Adams goes down, your offense isn't existent anymore.
That's one big negative. Another big negative is that if all the players are on the field, our run defense is non-existent. So that's a huge concern. And of course, we're playing Dallas next week. You know they're going to want to run the ball at us.
There's the reason why I got Tony Pollard, not going to lie.
Yeah, I know. I saw that and I was like,
I'm just kind of sitting here like, I know they have, but I don't know if they're going to trust Dak this game.
So anyway, the run defense is definitely a concern. Mike Pettin needs to adjust somehow. And I don't want to press the panic button yet. I want to see what they do against Dallas because, again, Dallas is a team that's going to want to run on us. Let's see if Pettin can make some adjustments, with basically a week and a half to do so, and see if they can come up with something better on defense. Another concern that I have, of course, is that Jimmy Graham is actively sabotaging the Packers. And we've talked about him on this podcast before and how terrible he is at blocking. And he did make some nice catches in this game. And when the run game stopped working, Jimmy Graham was getting himself open. And they were making some effective plays. They were using him well. He's a big-bodied tight end. They basically had him running a go route to the sticks, turning around and catching the ball. They ran that play 2 or 3 times, and it worked very well. The Eagles couldn't cover it. And when you have that and you have Devontae Adams, who's very difficult to cover on the outside, it makes the passing attack very effective. But Jimmy Graham also made a couple of horrible, horrible mistakes. The first one that really irks me is on 3rd and goal from the 1, the Packers ran what I believe was their designed 2-point conversion play that they had come up with and practiced, and Jimmy Graham did it wrong and screwed it up. Do you know which play I'm talking about?
Refresher.
Okay. So Aaron Rodgers fakes the handoff to Aaron Jones and sprints to his left. So he's basically going for the goal line, and it's sort of a quarterback option. It's more of an RPO. So he can either go for the goal line or throw to Jimmy Graham, who's supposed to be in the back corner of the end zone. And Jimmy Graham instead goes to the front pylon, and Rodgers has nowhere to throw the ball. And if Graham had gone to the back pylon, Rodgers had a good chance of like beating the guy who was chasing him to the front pylon if he wanted to. So like it was a well-designed play, and Jimmy Graham just went to the wrong spot.
Yep.
And that made me really mad. And then the next play, 4th and goal from the 1, they went for it, and Rodgers threw to Graham in the back of the end zone, and for no reason he tried to make a one-handed catch when he could have made a two-handed catch and dropped the ball.
I think he's reached the age of fundamentally not understanding his newfound limited limits. You know,
Limited limits, yeah.
Limited limits, you know? Because
that's a phrase that I want to keep using.
They are more limited than before. That's if you're an older player, you now have limited limits.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. It's just a weird way of saying it.
Yeah, no. I knew what was coming out like midway through the sentence, and I'm like, I'm gonna just say it anyway.
By the way, last week's podcast, I actually made a comment on the YouTube video. I said that the episode should have been called "Mono is not herpes." I'm gonna suggest, and you're the one who makes the titles, so you get to decide. But in consideration right now should be limited limits.
Limited limits.
Yeah. So just keep that in mind. It's your call. This is your arena, but So yeah. Bottom line on the Packers, I'm not panicking yet. They are still 3-1. If you had told me they were going to win 3 out of their first 4 games before the season started, I would have been pretty happy with that. Yeah, I mean, they're 3-1. They're still in first in the NFC North, thanks to the
game that we're
Lions.
about to talk about. Yeah.
Thanks to the Lions getting a little unlucky. And by the way, this was a game that the Eagles absolutely needed, and they got it. And credit to them, they played really well.
Yeah.
But yeah, moving on to the Detroit Lions playing at home against the Kansas City Chiefs. Hang on one second, Bryce. Vamp for a minute.
Vamp. All right. So the Chiefs and Lions, we had the Lions winning. Lions should have won, in my opinion. I believe, looking back at that game, where they messed up was when they did, in fact, give Mahomes a chance at the end. I think that when I saw the Lions score at the end, I was very, very scared immediately. Because when you have, I don't know. Like, when I see Patrick Mahomes, 1.5 minutes left, needs to score a touchdown, I think he's doing that.
Yeah.
Every time. Like, there's no... when I see... it's like... Teams, I think, should start implementing this into their game plan. Don't score yet. Should be the mentality, right?
Yeah, and it's funny because, it actually reminded me. Do you remember the Packers-Cowboys playoff game, the one with the Jared Cook catch at the end?
That's another one. Instance.
That's the example where they had I can't remember how much it was. It was just under a minute, I think, and the announcer said they left too much time for Aaron Rodgers, and they were right. This is the exact same thing for Mahomes. It's like you left him too much time.
They left him too much time for MINSHEW.
They left too much time for MINSHEW this week too.
Yeah. So did the Texans, and it didn't bite them, but
yeah, I mean, yeah. But anyway. Yeah, they this was a way closer game than I think I thought. Than I thought it was going to be. It was of course we had predicted the Lions would win, but we kind of knew all along that was a crazy prediction to make. And as soon as we realized that we had predicted that, we were like, "What in the world were we thinking?" Um, and then it nearly happened too.
And looking back, I remember the
The,
reasoning now. I remember the reasoning, and it was me convincing you.
mm-hmm.
It was me convincing you, and my reasoning was I looked at how they matched up at home, and I looked at the Lions team going in and seeing Kerryon Johnson in a second year, and I thought Jarrett Kerryon was going to be amazing this year, and he's been really good. He's been really good. I looked at the receiving core of the Lions, and I think that also had and the power that they had there, alongside like the Lions. Can we all both agree that the Lions are just the worst Patriots, right?
I mean, they have a Patriots coach, you know.
No,
So
like the
yeah, I
way
mean,
they have made their team is to mimic what the Patriots do on both
that's what
sides of the
every
ball.
former Patriots coach that gets hired as a head coach does. But I definitely see your point.
The only because I mean this is like that's what I thought at the time, especially because I thought Sony Michel was going to be a lot better than he is. So
Yeah.
and I thought that the Lions would have a formula that just would. I thought that the Lions offense would be better than the Chiefs defense, better than the Chiefs offense would be better than the Lions defense. Does that make sense?
I definitely, yeah, I understand that. I followed all of that.
And I thought that they
And
actually did.
yeah, they actually looked like the better
If you
team
do not
for most of this
count
game.
that weird fumble
Mhm.
return for 99 yards, because like no
Yeah,
one
that
knew. That was I hate plays like that because
that's what I was going to get to next. Actually, the critical moment I think in this game was that play because it was a 14-point swing. You have Kerryon Johnson reaching for the goal line. If he gets it across, that's 7 points for the Lions, and the Lions are up a touchdown because it was tied at the time. But then instead, he fumbles. Bashad Breeland, former Packer, picks up the ball and runs it back for a 100-yard touchdown, and suddenly the Chiefs are up 7. So that was the huge moment in the game. And then even after that, the Lions still came back and
we're up with 90 seconds.
And we're leading. Yeah, I mean they did not let that play, which could have absolutely killed their momentum and confidence. They didn't let that be the end of the game, and that's a huge credit to the toughness of this Lions team.
I mean, the Lions are real. The Lions, as it stands, perform the second best in the NFC North.
I mean, I think that prior to this game, everyone was saying the Lions are overachieving to be here. They were 2-0-1 going in, and it's weird that a loss would like change your opinion of the fact that the team is overachieving.
In almost every power ranking I saw, the Lions go up. So
yeah,
I know that's in Dan's that went up. Dan Hansis is.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't really believe that the Lions are a good team.
I think believe they're a playoff team. They are a wild card playoff team.
I think at some point they're going to go on a losing streak, and maybe it's going to be injuries because it seems like they don't have a lot of depth anywhere on their roster, and at least that's what I've heard some analysts talking about. And if injuries start to set in at the right positions, they could be in a lot of trouble. But that said, they're playing really well right now, and they are on bye this week, and then they come back for a game against the Packers, and I am nervous about that game, especially if the Packers lose in Dallas, because suddenly they could go from 3-0 to 3-3, and that could be
that would
could be very
what
bad.
The Packers have done in other seasons as well, where they start hot and then they just stumble, and then they go on another win streak and then stumble.
Yeah, the Packers have always been kind of a streaky team, but anyway,
you want a streaky team, by the way, if you want to win a Super Bowl. By the way,
yes,
you don't want a team that just is average, above average, like consistently, because then you
want a streaky team. You want a streaky team, or you want Brady and Belichick. If you want to win a Super Bowl, the Patriots are are the opposite of a streaky team. They pretty much always start slow and then they're just dominant from October 1st on.
I believe that from October 1st, I think it's more so the fact that the Patriots have almost put peaking in the playoffs to a formula.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what makes that, like, they've almost put it to a science, and that's one of that's why it's so, like, unbelievable in my opinion.
Yeah. But anyway, that's a discussion for another time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
This, by the way, was a bad Patrick Mahomes game, and the Chiefs offense still ultimately put up a day that,
It's
like,
not
a lot of offensive coordinators would look at that and be like, that's your bad game. Like, they'd be like, we'll take that as our best game of the season.
Yeah.
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes did not throw a touchdown in the game, which helped to sink me in fantasy. But that's okay. I mean, it's fantasy after all. I don't really care.
I care. By the way, speaking of fantasy, Saquon Barkley, he seems to be, he might be back in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Hill might be back in 2 weeks.
Yeah, your team could look really good down the stretch.
The second those, I have 4 of my top, like, 6 players on bye or injured right now. Mm-hmm. My team could look like Tyreek Hill, Terry McLaurin, Kenny Golladay as my flex, with my running backs being Kerryon Johnson, David Johnson, and Saquon Barkley. So Kerryon Johnson now is my flex, and George Kittle.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't know how I got David Johnson, by the way. The guy was like 0-4 and desperate, and I thought, hey, Miles Sanders is putting up numbers. That's only because he's a kick returner, but you know.
Yeah.
So you don't, yeah.
But anyway, do you have any other thoughts on Lions Chiefs?
The Lions are a good team for now. I am confident in saying that if we had the Lions in January, pending injuries, they should be good enough to.
Yeah, I mean, right now I think they're playing like a good football team, so they're a good football team. But we'll see if that lasts.
Yeah.
I am disappointed though that the Lions couldn't finish this game out. You know, I mean, honestly, we predicted the Lions to beat the Chiefs, and like the Lions lost, but everybody now thinks more highly of them than before. So did they win? I mean, did they really actually win?
No.
Okay. They still scored fewer points than their opponent, so they lost.
Yeah. But
okay.
But they.
It's good that like mathematics backs that up.
In any case, yeah. Moving on.
Yeah, let's move on to a game that we can fly through, pun intended. Although, that wasn't the best pun. Titans at Falcons.
End my misery.
It wasn't the best pun because the Falcons were kind of grounded in this game.
I see what you did there, and I want to move on. Both teams suck. The worst team lost. Yay.
Yeah.
Go bad football.
All I can say about this game is that the Titans just looked like the much better football team in this game, and like their offense looked good. The Falcons' offense looked bad, and that's just what the Tennessee Titans are. Like they'll have like a great week and then a terrible week, and then you never know when you're going to get a good Titans game and when you're going to get a bad Titans game, and that's just what this team is. They're destined to get between 7 and 9 wins.
I mean,
like their ceiling is lose to the Patriots in the divisional round of the playoffs. That's their ceiling. Would you agree?
Their ceiling is go 9-7 and miss the playoffs this year.
Well, okay, but they've gone 9-7 or 10-6 and made the playoffs in the past, and then they've always farthest they've ever gotten.
I don't care. The ceiling, this iteration can't do that.
I feel like this is the same Titans team as always,
I
though.
think it's a worse Titans team, actually.
Okay. Well, anyway, we don't have to spend any more time on them.
I
See you
feel
guys
bad
next
for
week.
the Falcons more than anything because Matt Ryan is still a top 5 top 5
Yeah.
potential quarterback. He's like one of the best in the league, and still people are gonna call him shit. But
Are
there's
the
a reason
Falcons the most disappointing team so far, do you think?
for the last 3 years, objectively.
I
So
just mean this season.
yes, and from every other year.
Yeah, every year since 28-3.
Ever since they became a franchise. Like, they should have won a Super Bowl and still disappointed us.
Yeah.
What type of team do you have to be so fucking disappointing? You make the Super Bowl and disappoint. Like, oh, whatever. I feel bad for our Falcons fans. I have a friend named Dylan who lives in Atlanta. I feel bad for him. He's really into the Falcons. But yeah, moving on.
Yeah, let's move on to a more interesting game. Browns at Ravens. So, would you like to begin?
Well, I think I want to begin with saying that I don't think this tells me that the Browns season's saved. However, it gives me hope that they can win the division, and that's all they need to do. They have the shittiest division in football. Can we agree on that? I think they're worse than the AFC South. And that's because at least the AFC South, every team has a defense. In the AFC and in the AFC North, they have 2 teams.
Yeah, I think I agree. The AFC North is the worst division in football.
Which is weird. It's never been that.
Actually, though, it's interesting because if you look at the NFC South, though, the Panthers and Buccaneers, I think so far have overachieved. If they hadn't, if they hadn't been overachieving, we would say they're the worst division in football. With how bad the Falcons have been. But as it is, I agree. The AFC North is the worst.
Because the Buccaneers also look like a team that can strive for the playoffs. Not the Panthers. Not the Panthers. Panthers have no chance.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, my only takes from Browns and Ravens, the Browns defense looked really good. And not just in this game, but against the Rams too. They looked really good. I mean, Myles Garrett is just a monster.
I mean, there's a reason why he went first overall.
Yeah, absolutely.
And people have been undermining him because he's been wearing that orange jersey on really shitty teams, but
yeah,
he's always been like this. He's always been like this. He's so good.
It's the Jadeveon Clowney curse, actually. If you recall, way back, Jadeveon Clowney went first overall to a team that desperately needed a quarterback and was just stuck on shitty teams for years.
Yep.
Same thing with Myles Garrett, but now that they finally have a quarterback, maybe
it's also because he's not as big as Khalil Mack or Aaron Donald type guy, which is why I think people are just now noticing people like Shaq Barrett as well. Even though Shaq Barrett never had the numbers and played behind Von Miller and Bradley Chubb. People like Josh Allen and the edge rusher for the Jaguars, Josh Allen, and Shaq Barrett and Myles Garrett. These are smaller guys. They're not going to get as many stat wise. I don't think they're going to be as impressive, but they're going to have almost the same impact as an Aaron Donald or Khalil Mack.
Yeah.
Because they always win off technique, by the way. That's how you win when you're that small. And that just means they're incredibly intelligent.
The other thing that I noted with this game was that the Browns' offense looks like they've figured something out now.
No. They figured out Jarvis Landry is better than Odell Beckham. Okay.
Well,
and I've been saying this. True. I've been saying that. I will still say this. I've been saying it, and I think it is true because what Jarvis Landry offers you is an above-average consistency, which you want from your wideouts, whereas Odell Beckham is way more big play-centric in that he will he will beat someone so fucking badly on a route and just drop it. You know, you'll get that from Odell Beckham, and then occasionally you're gonna get him where he just, he'll just make an incredible play, right? All that will happen. I think he's dropping a lot of balls this year, no matter what. He's gonna have the most drop balls in the league, especially because he's getting thrown to by Baker, and Baker throws bullets.
Okay.
Yeah, and Jarvis Landry.
You want to make that a prediction that he'll lead the league in drops?
Yes, I would. Sure.
I will write that down right now.
Only D.D. Westbrook can compare, but that's probably just because I'm so mad at that guy. But yeah, it's really like I think Jarvis Landry, right, has always been like the receiver I'd rather have, and he's now finally able to play slot, which is where he's supposed to be. He's never been able to play slot in any of the teams he's been on, the Dolphins or the Browns, because he was the best receiver on the team.
Mm-hmm.
So now he gets to play slot, and now he gets these incredible, like, you can play a lot of gadget plays with him. He's going to get open deep. He's going to get open in ways that you are not going to achieve with someone like Beckham. I think Beckham is a better... It's going to be weird. Beckham is a better distraction guy to have in your team. You know what I mean? By that, like, on the field, he's better to, like, be
he
the
draws
bait.
the defense's attention.
Yeah, he will, and I think that's very, very valuable. But that's why you have him. I don't think you have him to catch you a game winner or to be your leading receiver.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. I understand what you're saying. I don't necessarily agree, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
What I did mean to say, though, was that I think they have figured out how to overcome, at least in part, their deficiencies on the offensive line, where you saw in that Rams game, and they kept the broadcast, that anytime Baker held the ball for more than 2 seconds, it was a negative play, either an incompletion or a sack.
Yeah.
And when he was holding the ball for less than 2 seconds, he was much more successful. And that's the only way the Browns were able to move the ball at all in that game. And in this game, okay, yes, they got the benefit of several big plays, and Nick Chubb just had a monster game on the ground. But when they were moving the ball through the air, they were running a lot of these quick passes, quick routes, and a lot of rollouts to buy Baker a little bit more time. And, of course, he's good moving to his right. We know that. He did throw a touchdown in this game moving to his left. So that's nice to see. So we'll see if this offense can actually be the offense we were hoping for. And maybe just that week 3 game against a Rams defense that is maybe the best in the league, at least up front. Maybe that sort of biased our view of this team a little bit.
I don't think so. I don't think the Rams defense is that good.
I think they're very good up front.
I think that they're not as good as the Broncos were before Bradley got IR'd. I don't think they're as good as the Jaguars. I don't think they're good as the Bears. I think the Packers can outperform them. I think that there are many teams. The Bills, for example, still. The Colts is another one. Like the Seahawks. There's a lot of teams that I might put over. Like, I think that you could say that they just perform bad. Sure.
But when you have Aaron Donald on your team, you can't call that a bad defensive front.
I never said that they were bad. I never said they were bad. I didn't. They're not number one. Nowhere close. They are nowhere close to number one.
And you know who else is nowhere close to number one is the Baltimore Ravens. Their defense looks terrible. So that's another takeaway from this game.
Don't pull the plug on them. They're not a defensive.
No, I'm not giving up.
They're not.
I'm not giving up on the Ravens, but this does not.
Mean.
They lost some key players in the offseason, including Zadarius Smith to the Packers, which I think is really hurting the Ravens a lot. And we saw them destroy 2 terrible teams to start the year, and then they struggled against the Chiefs and Browns, who seem to be, much better teams. And I'm not writing off the Ravens, certainly, but I'm concerned. about their defense.
All right.
So we'll keep an eye on that. But let's move on to the next game, which is Panthers at Texans.
Oh, come on.
Not a lot to talk about here. They
are who we thought they were.
Yeah. The Panthers offense with Kyle Allen at the helm, they didn't look great, but they did enough to beat
They look
the Texans
better than
team.
they did with Cam.
They do. They do look better than they did with Cam. I agree.
Cam is a bad quarterback.
They're 2-2 now. Their 2 wins came with Kyle Allen.
Think about it. Think about this. You'd rather have Jameis Winston than Cam Newton on your team in 2019. You would? Because at least one of them can start?
I mean...
At least one of them's gonna like.
Can I just say neither and just like play my backup?
No. Your backup's Mark Sanchez.
Well, then I guess I'll go 0-16 and draft a quarterback.
You're gonna do a Dolphins tank.
Yeah, I'll do a Dolphins tank job. Why not?
Whatever. Anyway, yeah, Christian McCaffrey, another MVP candidate guy. I mean, he's
definitely
insane. The Texans need to figure out something on offense, but I'm afraid they're not because the offensive line is terrible.
They could not move the ball in this game, and
they have Kiki Kuti, Will Fuller. They have, I haven't even mentioned their number one.
DeAndre Hopkins,
Hopkins,
by the way, threw an interception in this game on a gadget play, which was huge.
I laughed.
Yeah.
I hate the Texans.
Yeah. So the Texans offense has some serious concerns, but on the other side of the ball, you could say that this relatively no-name Panthers defense is actually performing pretty well. And because, I remember in the offseason asking you, can you name one player on this defense besides Luke Kuechly?
No, I couldn't.
You couldn't. And they're actually playing pretty well, and maybe Luke Kuechly.
Isn't it Brian Burns, right?
Brian Burns is the rookie they drafted,
and he's insane.
He's been pretty good.
He's NFL has rated him the top defensive rookie this year so far, and I think Darnold Savage is a little better, but yeah.
My thought is maybe Luke Kuechly is just. Like there's that much of a positive effect from him being on the field because he is one of the best linebackers I've ever seen play. And maybe he just has that kind of effect where he sets up his teammates so well. But regardless, the Panthers defense looks pretty good and they need their defense to be good in order to win with Kyle Allen at the helm. And of course, Christian McCaffrey, like you said, MVP candidate. But any other thoughts on this game, or should we move on?
No more thoughts on this for me. Although I'm happy that again the Texans lost. That's
of course. It's always nice.
There's I think one more morning game that I really give a shit about.
Yeah.
The three.
Let's.
Yeah.
Which game was that?
It's the team with the 5th best team in the league and the best team in the league.
Yeah, let's talk about that because I didn't watch it, of course. So it's all you.
Oh my God, you are missing out on one of the best defenses I've ever seen in the Buffalo Bills. And it might even hurt you more if you watch this game. To be fair, because you see Micah Hyde and you're like, because Micah Hyde is nuts now. He's never been this good. This is his best year. The Bills' defense is the best defense in the league currently. In this moment, starting October, the number 1 ranked defense for me, Buffalo Bills, undeniably. And if you might give Josh Allen a Super Bowl with this defense. That's how good I actually would be like, if you told me, like, if you came from the future and just told me the Bills win the Super Bowl, I would have been like, yeah, I believe that. I actually think I can see that. This defense can...
are you seriously saying this is like a 2000 Ravens level defense?
Yeah.
Wow.
You have to, the 2000 Ravens defense...
Like a 2016 Broncos level defense?
Yes.
That's pretty...
They are good at everything.
It was 2016, right? The year they won with broken down Peyton Manning.
I believe it is.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, I mean, but you look at these drives. This is against Tom Brady. Remember, this is against Tom Brady. Punt. Then he gave him a touchdown. Punt. 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 Interception. Punt. 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 Field goal. Punt. 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 End of fourth quarter.
Yeah.
They let off 2 scoring drives.
Yeah.
One of the scoring drives lasted less than 3 minutes because it was a big play. There was like I think one big play in there that netted them most of their yards.
I will absolutely agree with you. The defense looks really, really good. However, I will also say the Patriots defense has looked very good too. And unfortunately,
the Patriots defense hasn't played against an offense really.
That is true. I mean,
Bills.
I don't think the Bills' offense is bad, but I agree. Let's see what happens when the Patriots play.
I think the Patriots lose this game if they don't target Josh Allen. Like Josh Allen stays in the fourth quarter, he wins the game.
By the way, we didn't mention it yet.
The 2 injuries.
When we talked about the Packers-Eagles game, for example, but way too many headshots this week. And we're going to talk about that with the next game, by the way. But we'll finish up. I'll finish up Patriots-Bills first. Any closing thoughts?
The Bills are legit. Watch out. If your team plays against the Buffalo Bills, that is a scary team. They are the 5th best team right now, I'd say.
Here's a question for you. So you said that they might be able to carry Josh Allen to a Super Bowl win. Could they carry Matt Barkley to a Super Bowl win?
No.
Okay.
Matt Barkley can't. He cannot throw the ball. You cannot play with somebody who cannot throw. You know what I mean?
Okay.
He actually can't throw the ball. Like that's that. Watching Matt Barkley play.
16 Peyton Manning. That's what you're saying.
Yes. I mean, this is that their game plan works with Josh Allen because Josh Allen, if nothing else, can actually scramble well. And when you have Frank Gore, that's a power rusher alongside Josh Allen, who actually can like get out, buy time into the pocket. You can run. I think they could run RPO to the Super Bowl. That's how they could run college level RPO and win the Super Bowl. That's how this.
Just to clarify, what you're saying is 2019 Matt Barkley is worse than 2000 Trent Dilfer?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Good. I just wanted to make sure. Is he worse than 1985 Jim McMahon?
It's going to keep going back in time to see which generation of quarterbacks he fits into. How about 1920?
Yeah. Anyway, I'm ready to move on from Patriots and Bills.
Before the forward pass was invented.
Right. Is that an era of football where he could succeed?
Maybe.
Where there's no forward passing?
Maybe. Maybe in flag football.
Okay.
All right. In any case, I'm ready to move on.
Let's move on to the game with the most egregious target of the week, Raiders and Colts.
What do you mean? Oh, yeah, Vontaze Burfict. That's the only storyline from this game, and you got your
pretty
wish.
Much. I have 3 storylines from this game. We'll talk about Burfict last.
All right.
First storyline is that T.Y. Hilton was out, and that was absolutely huge. The Colts offense is so much less potent when T.Y. Hilton is not on the field. He is Dave Damashek from NFL.com likes to talk about where if you take him out, the whole tower collapses. T.Y. Hilton is that Jenga piece for the Colts. So that's the first note. Second note, and this is really only significant to me and other Packers fans, is that Trevor Davis, who since the start of the season, I'm not sure exactly when it happened, got traded from the Packers to the Raiders, scored a 60-yard rushing touchdown in this game. And my only takeaway is leave it to Mike McCarthy to fail to utilize a dynamic, speedy player.
Yeah.
But anyway, the only memorable thing that Trevor Davis ever did with the Packers was he drew the longest penalty in NFL history. So there's that.
Perfect for the Raiders.
Yeah, well, no, he didn't commit the longest penalty. He drew the longest penalty.
Oh, I see.
It was a 60-something yard pass interference. But anyway, and then, of course, the last thing and the only storyline that anybody is talking about is Vontaze Burfict, who essentially, it was a very dirty hit and one of the worst I've ever seen against Jack Doyle. And
the whole fact that the guy was like, smiling, kissing at the crowd, fuck off.
Oh my God, he needs to be out of the NFL, and he will be for the remainder of this season. He is appealing that suspension.
He's not going to win it.
No, he's not going to win this appeal. He has been suspended for the remainder of the season. I hope he never comes back. I hope that no coach ever gives him another chance. But, of course, leave it to John Gruden to do those things. So, yeah. And by the way, this, again, does not count for your Raiders prediction. We had a clause specifically for this situation that it could not be Vontaze Burfict on another dirty hit. So there's that.
The Vontaze Burfict clause.
The Vontaze clause. And the Raiders offense did look pretty good in this game. So
Josh Jacobs is real. I mean,
yeah. And that tight end they've got, whatever his name is.
Darren Waller.
Maybe it's just Derek Carr not trusting any of his wide receivers, but like he's throwing to Darren Waller a lot, and Waller's making a lot of big catches. So, I mean, good for them, I guess.
Some
they won.
Dumbass in fantasy's happy.
Yeah, I suppose. So anyway, moving on to another game we don't really want to talk about. The Chargers at the Dolphins.
No game happened. No game happened. No game happened.
Well, I kind of want to disagree. Now,
Josh.
Okay.
Okay, Josh Rosen's great. All right, he can start for a real football team. That's the only storyline from this game. I don't want to talk about it anymore.
Well, I will say this. So the last 2 weeks, so last week against the Cowboys and this week against the Chargers, the Dolphins actually looked like a semi-competitive football team in the first half, and then they, of course, fell apart in the second half. A team, by the way, which has not scored a single point in the second half yet this season. But they look competitive early, and my theory is that they have very little talent on that team at all. But I think that they're well coached and they have a good game plan, and that's how they're able to get off to these semi-decent starts. So we'll see if they can ever pick up a win. My money is on no, but we'll see what happens. You never know. Some other team could get horribly injured and just be just as talent poor as the Dolphins are and lose to the Dolphins. So we'll see. So moving on then to the late games. And I know where you want to start, so I'll just let you. You still there?
There you are. All right, you came back.
Did I cut out there?
Yeah, you just went robot mode. All right, but I assume you want me to talk about my favorite game of the season.
Yes, I want you to talk. Go, just go. I'm going to turn off my mic.
Well, Gardner Minshew is real. The Minshew, like, I've never rooted for a quarterback before who can severely outplay somebody with their feet as much as Gardner Minshew did. Because with Rodgers, right? Aaron Rodgers was always the type of quarterback that, like, He would outplay you with by forcing balls that no other quarterback should ever force.
Hey, I don't want to interrupt you, but one quick note. I'm going to interrupt you anyway. One thing I forgot to mention in the Packers discussion, the touchdown throw to Jimmy Graham in that game. There's only one human being on the planet that can make that throw, and it's Aaron Rodgers.
Gardner Minshew. Anyway.
No. Anyway, go on. Go back to you.
So Gardner Minshew is the second coming of Christ. And that if you watch...
I'm sorry. I was laughing so hard that I had to turn my mic back on just to get the laughter. Okay, keep going.
The 10-minute third quarter drive that was performed and led by Gardner Minshew, I've replayed over 5 times since I saw it. The play where he literally has the ball stripped from him, but he recovers it back and then is able to just, as he's getting hit, throw it to his check down and gain 3 yards is one of the most insane circumstances I've seen. And then he proceeds to have another thing where Bradley Chubb, Von Miller, and everyone else on that that is rushing for him, the 4-man rush, all get to him, and he dodges every one of them to throw it to his, I think, 3rd-string running back in the corner of the end zone.
And that, by the way, was the thing that I led off the show.
You did. You absolutely did.
The Quell Armstead connection.
Right now, NFL.com rates Gardner Minshew as #1 rookie in performance, and he is leading the league in votes for 3 of the 4 weeks for offensive rookie player. He's won rookie player of the week 3 weeks in a row. Not 3 weeks in a row. He won it week 1, 3, and 4. He didn't win it week 2. This guy is gonna replace Foles because the schedule for the Jaguars suggests that he's just gonna most likely win every game. I mean, the Jaguars specifically play one of the lightest schedules. Their hardest games are gonna be.
Well, let's look at it here because I'm just pulling up their page right now in our spreadsheet.
The hardest games are the Saints, which are in 2 weeks, and the Chargers, which are later in the season.
Yeah, because they've got at Panthers next. We figure that's a game they should win. And then
Teddy
Saints,
Bridgewater.
Yeah, still with Bridgewater at that point. Bengals, they should win. Jets, maybe the Jets are looking okay by then.
But still, I would...
And then, of course, you never... I mean... I never want to just gift any team division games, so those are always a challenge. But I feel like they are the best team in that division right now.
It's man for man, it should be the Texans, but yes,
yeah, I agree with that completely. I agree. The Texans have a better roster. If you just wanted me to take their 53 guys or the Jaguars 53 guys, I would take the Texans. But right now, the Jaguars are playing better than the Texans.
And then you after that, it's just Indianapolis and Indianapolis. Again, that's anything goes, I guess. Tennessee, anything goes. Tampa
Buccaneers,
Bay,
you never know.
I think I think the Buccaneers depends on one factor. We win that game guaranteed if one thing is settled by then in December. And it looks like Ramsey will play by then. If Ramsey is playing, we just win that game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, you're right. The Jaguars have a very favorable schedule, and they could even after an 0-2 start, they still could potentially beat our projected 11-5. They could still go 12-4. It's possible.
Honestly, if you told me to predict every single one of these games, at this moment, I might predict Jacksonville in every single game.
Yeah, a lot can change in the NFL, though.
It is, yeah, and it's also it's the hardest sport to predict.
So the other things I wanted to add about this game. Now the Broncos, of course, we know did not have a sack through the first 3 weeks of the season. They did sack Gardner Minshew 5 times in this game. So, okay, they finally got some sacks. And unfortunately, the bad news for the Broncos is that they lost one of their best players, Bradley Chubb.
The best young player they have, Bradley Chubb.
Yeah. Apparently, and he did finish the game, but apparently he came into the facility on Monday, said his knee didn't feel right, and they discovered that he has a partially torn ACL, so he is done for the year. The end of this game, by the way, the Broncos were hurt again by a roughing the passer call. This one, I think, more clear cut than the one against the Bears that cost them that game. But still, Broncos fans are griping about that. And the Broncos dropped to 0-4.
They're dead.
They are dead.
They are a dead team. We can all send our condolences to them. We gather here today to give our thanks.
The fans of the Jesselnick and Rosenthal Vanity Project, Jerry B, will say that it is time to eat this dead horse where it is. Get it? Because it's the Broncos.
Whatever. Blah, blah, blah.
You don't get it, but that's okay. Okay, so let's move on.
We got other games. Yeah.
Yep, so 3 other late games. So let's talk about Seahawks at Cardinals.
Cardinals are a bad football team.
Yes, they are.
The Seahawks are not a bad football team.
No, they are not.
I'm glad we had this discussion. Moving on.
Yeah, I think we're ready to move on, except that I did want to mention that Larry Fitzgerald did pass Tony Gonzalez for second on the all-time receptions list in this game.
He might get first.
Good for him. He's got a long way to go yet to catch Jerry Rice, but
isn't it 5,000 or 4,000 something yards?
Well, no, it's receptions, not yards.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
But yeah, anyway, it seems like every game Larry Fitzgerald plays, he breaks some record. He's one of the best to ever do it. I love watching him. But outside of him, I hate this Cardinals team.
He is 200 catches away, so he needs 3 more seasons.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how long he's willing to keep it going. Yeah. So anyway, moving on to then would you like to go Buccaneers Rams or Vikings Bears next?
Damn it! I mean, let's get the Vikings Bears out of the way. The Vikings are just falling to pieces.
Mm-hmm.
This team could have theoretically they could have made the playoffs. They're in a hard division, but they had the pieces there, especially with Dalvin Cook playing second best running back in the league. I mean,
yeah,
it's such a tragedy.
And by the way, there were reports just today that we're recording this on Thursday.
Stephon Diggs.
He is unhappy and potentially looking to be traded. I don't think he will get traded, but it's not a good situation right now.
The owners are not going to allow these players to have the power to just be trade me and then get traded, No, Antonio Brown has set a terrible precedent, and players are trying to take power into their own hands, and that's never worked out for players, by the way. Yeah. Every single union in NFL history has failed massively.
Yeah, Antonio Brown is an extremely special case, and I don't think
outlier, but it's influencing
other players will be able to follow that successfully. But yeah, you're right; it's an outlier. I don't think Diggs will get traded, but it's something to watch. And there are plenty of teams that could use another talented wide receiver, so you never know.
Yeah.
But yeah, this game. Mitch Trubisky did leave the game with a shoulder injury to his non-throwing shoulder, which is certainly something to watch. It seems
it doesn't affect the Bears' performance in the slightest, though.
It seems like he could miss a few weeks, but Chase Daniel, who came in relief, now of course he's not a better player than Trubisky. He can't make all the throws that Trubisky can, but I feel like he might actually be better for this Bears offense because, you were talking about the Bills as being this potentially historically good defense. I think the Bears are there too.
There's
This Bears defense is good enough to win games without the offense. And I mean, they're so good. And you don't need your quarterback to do much when your defense is that good. You need him to check the ball. So
yeah.
anyway,
I mean,
moving on then. I mean there's not much else to talk about.
are the
with this
Vikings
game.
dead?
I don't think they're dead yet.
They're fighting?
I feel like they need to get some wins pretty quickly to stay alive. But
they're 2-2, and they're playing the Giants. If they lose to the Giants, I think they're dead. Is the thing.
Maybe.
Because their division's too hard.
Yeah. I don't know. They could get back into the wild card chase though. Maybe. But they're looking to be in a bad spot right now. And Kirk Cousins does not look worth the money. But anyway, let's move to Buccaneers and Rams. The second scoregami of the week.
Fun ass game right there.
Yeah. And by the way, the Rams absolutely deserve to lose this game, if for no other reason than they wore their white jerseys at home and inflicted the Buccaneers home jerseys upon us. This is a big deal to me.
I am aware,
but
yes. Shaq Barrett's legit, but there's a reason why Shaq Barrett's on the thumbnail, and it's because he's my pick for Defensive Player of the Year right now.
Yeah, he looks really good.
Shaq Barrett.
He's had a great start to the year.
It's just, it's so the Bronco fans look how they massacred my boy,
Yeah.
When you look at Bradley Chubb, and then you look at that defensive line is now a shadow of what it used to be, and the shadow is now a pirate, much like the Pirates of old, the Buccaneers, stealing away talent, stealing away the treasures of other teams, and stealing away wins.
That was so much better than my Falcons thing.
Oh my
I gotta say.
This Buccaneers team could win the division. Is that too much to say at this moment?
No, definitely not, because that division does not look very good, especially with the breezeless Saints.
Saints are the best team in the division. The Buccaneers could win. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The Saints would be the best team even in January, but the Buccaneers could win.
Yeah. So, by the way, this was my final note. Now, of course, the game ended in a scoregami, and we're happy about that. But it shouldn't have been a scoregami, because with the Rams down 8 points at the end of the game, Jared Goff is sacked, fumbles, and Ndamukong Suh picks it up, runs it in for a touchdown. He should have gone down. He goes down at the 5-yard line. They take a knee and the game's over. The Rams couldn't have stopped the clock enough.
Is it not a score? Is 48-40 not a scoregami?
It is not a scoregami because it happened fairly recently. Do you remember the game? It involved one of these two teams.
Was it the Chiefs-Rams?
No. The game was from last season, and it was the Fitzmagic game in week 1, Buccaneers-Saints.
Oh my God.
48-40. So it would not have been a scoregami, but he should have gone down and just ended the game. And instead, he scored, and I believe there was a Buccaneers player who got hurt on the kickoff. So, that guy can, make Ndamukong Suh pay his medical bills.
Yeah, but Suh gave us scoregami. We always root for scoregami, and I root for Ndamukong Suh. He is not as bad as Vontaze Burfict. I know he's done some everyone remembers the kick. Everyone remembers the kick on Thanksgiving, right? But
yeah, and also the stomp on Thanksgiving a different year.
Yeah.
But
That's what I'm
okay,
talking about, by
I
the
will
way.
agree. Oh, I thought you meant the one where he kicked Matt Schaub in the groin.
No, I did not think of that one.
But yeah, I mean, I agree. And Ndamukong Suh is not as bad as Fontes Perfect. He is the only man in the NFL who can come close, though. I will say that.
He's a hothead, but he's good at what he does, and he's been relatively quiet. Julius Peppers, I thought, was going to be like that, and then he calmed down.
And he had a great career.
Yes.
Anyway, any other? I mean, what else do you really want to say in this game? I mean, the Buccaneers' offense.
The Rams are not a good team.
Well, let's talk about the Buccaneers first, though. Their offense looked pretty good outside of a few bad Jameis Winston throws, which you're going to get. And I don't know what to think about the Buccaneers defense because, like you were saying, the Rams offense just doesn't look good. They haven't been the same since Todd Gurley got hurt last season. Without a healthy, like a fully healthy Todd Gurley, they are not the same team.
And their defense is, I mean, the Rams defense is a T. I mean, we all look at these names on it and we saw what they were doing early, and it's like, oh, these old veterans, relighting their career. No, they're not good. You have Aaron Donald, and then you have a bunch of has-beens. It's really like Aqib Talib. It's not anything. Marcus Peters is not what he used to be. All these names just... They have Sam Shields, right?
I don't know. They did last year. I don't know if he's still with them.
Like all these names are like from 2013 and 2014.
Clay Matthews also.
Yeah.
And Clay Matthews, by the way, has actually looked decent.
He's looked better than he did in the Packers the last 3 years.
Yeah, he has. But anyway, I do wonder if this Rams team is going to start turning it around on offense because if you look at it, they didn't play any of their players in the preseason. So September is kind of their preseason.
Cooper Kupp is their best receiver.
Oh, he is for sure. But you wonder if maybe they'll figure something out as they go because they're still in that phase of the season where they're figuring things out, sort of like what Bill Belichick has done most years, where the Patriots in September have never been the same team in January, and maybe the Rams will be.
I don't bet on it. I won't bet on it, and I'm fine to move on that note.
That's fine. Yeah, we'll continue, and we'll go to Sunday Night Football, which was an interesting game. 12-10, not the score that I would have expected from Cowboys and Saints.
Then you realize it's Teddy.
Yeah, well, I mean, even with Teddy, I expected the Cowboys to score more than 10 points. I mean, this Saints defense is good.
The Saints team is legit. It is it's the real deal. Our preseason prediction will be the most drastically wrong with this team, I bet.
Well, actually, I think we're going to be the most drastically wrong about the Falcons, but
what did we say the Falcons were going to be?
13-3. They're already 1-3. But anyway, going back to this game, I do wonder if the Cowboys' offense is actually as good as we thought, because they played 3 terrible defenses to start the year. They played the Giants, Dolphins, and Racists. And then they finally played a good defense, and their offense scored 10 points.
Anyone else want to join in?
So I don't know if the Cowboys are really as good as we thought on offense, and that's encouraging for me as a Packers fan, knowing that we have to play them next week.
You guys are going to get run all over, though. Like you have to play against 2 running backs that are really, like, Tony Pollard's technique. He finds holes. He has really well, and he has good vision and athleticism.
Yeah, as I said though, I'm not pushing the panic button yet because the Saints found a way to limit Elliott and Pollard, and the Cowboys really couldn't run
Pollard
the ball.
ran it twice.
And anyway, the Cowboys did not have much success on the ground, and maybe Mike Pettin, watching the film of this game, will figure out something he can employ against the Cowboys as well. I really just want to see what the Packers do on Sunday before I panic about their defense.
Oh boy.
Other notes in this game. Tyron Smith, the all-pro left tackle for the Cowboys, has a high ankle sprain coming out of this game and is going to miss time, and that is huge, especially for a team that likes to run. Losing their best offensive lineman is not good.
Oh yeah. Oh, whoa, wait. Did you just call Tyron Smith the best offensive lineman on the Cowboys when Zach Martin's on that?
Okay, fair. Yeah, I
Holy-
take that back.
I was like, whoa, Zach Martin is insane.
But anyway, the only other note that I have on this game is this is the only time I think I've ever seen a flea flicker go for an 8-yard gain. I mean, what even is this Saints offense with Teddy Bridgewater? they ran a flea flicker. They ran a flea flicker that turned into an 8-yard completion. I've never seen that before. Like, you run a flea flicker, you're throwing down the field. It's either going to be incomplete or a big gain.
Or
And
pick.
this one went for 8 yards, not even a first down.
It fails at every conceivable metric for reality.
Yeah,
That has to be a red.
I don't understand.
It's like
Oh, it's a red.
But
I
anyway,
agree. It's weird.
Oh, by the way,
Good.
because the Saints are the team that we're talking about right now, I didn't mention it when we talked about Lions Chiefs, but that was the same officiating crew that blew the play dead in Rams Saints a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
That cost the Saints a touchdown.
I know. Yeah.
They did not blow it dead on the Chiefs, and the Chiefs scored a touchdown because of it. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's an interesting thing.
I don't know how I feel about those plays. I think I have a weird sour taste in my stomach because it's like I want to watch football and that play really isn't football. It's just half the people looking around stupid and befuddled. And it's like you get to watch one lucky player.
I understand what you're saying, but I would rather them let these things play out.
I would rather, let them play out, and I'd rather them like have a rule that I don't. You can never implement this, but I want in my own like fictitious reality, right?
Sure.
Some like rule of confusion where like if enough of players are visibly confused on both sides of the ball, the play is drop dead. You know, like then
Players on both sides are visibly confused. Well, then you would have people faking confusion.
Look, but they would not know. But I want it so like, you know how like there's that saying like I want a game of football with no penalties, but no player knows there's no penalties. You know?
Yeah. The problem is they'd figure that out.
What? Nah. That's like you got like you just have to remove that cognitive ability from these players preemptively. If you're a football player, you can't use logic and reason when it comes to penalties and only penalties.
So you have to brainwash all the players so that they only know how to play football and nothing else.
Yes. You are on my side.
Empty your mind of everything that isn't about football and breathing.
Yes. And I'm glad that we finished this week's with all the games. We don't have to discuss any other games.
Yep.
No other game
Every
happened.
single one, except
No,
we have to, because I'm a completionist. We have to talk about the Bengals and Steelers.
Who would you rather have on your team, Andy Dalton or Mason Rudolph?
I mean, I know exactly what Andy Dalton is. It depends on what the rest of my team looks like. If I have a team that I think has a Super Bowl roster, then I want Andy Dalton. But if I have a team that doesn't have a Super Bowl roster, I want Rudolph because he at least has potential to develop.
Potential is only useful if it happens. But remember,
what does that even mean?
Potential
that just
is
contradicts the definition of potential.
But it's only used potential. People overuse that word. People overblow it to and think that potential just automatically means, like, I know it contradicts what the word. It doesn't contradict. It just is what the word is. Potential. It only really matters when it pans out. Would you agree?
Okay. I mean,
But the
no.
way potential is thrown is, if this player has a high potential but doesn't pan out, they never had potential to begin with, which is just stupid.
That doesn't
You
make
can't
sense.
change his. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
This
I
was
don't think that what I think you're saying is the same thing that you think you're saying. But let's just move on. um, I do want to say about this game. So first of all, anybody who thought after that Week 1 game against the Seahawks that the Bengals were going to be an interesting team and a fun team, they were very wrong.
oh, we could only hope.
Yeah. Those big plays to John Ross from that game, I don't find them anywhere. This game was a bad team beating a much worse team. And that's really all there is to say about this. It is worth noting though that the Steelers offense, they're essentially running okay, so there's different levels of when your quarterback gets hurt and you have to bring in your backup. How much of the offense do you actually let them run? So, like, on one end of the spectrum is Gardner Minshew, who is basically running the full playbook with the Jaguars, it seems, and he's running the offense the same way I think they would be calling it if Foles were playing. Would you agree?
Agree about what again? Sorry.
So, okay. What I was saying is when your backup quarterback comes in, there's sort of a scale of like how much of the offense you actually let them run. And with Minshew, I think it's at one end of the spectrum where they're basically running their full offense. Like the same offense they'd be running with Foles, they're running with Minshew.
Yeah.
The opposite end of the spectrum is Teddy Bridgewater coming in for Drew Brees, where they're basically just letting him do nothing at all. They're running 8-yard flea flickers, and that's the most exciting thing they do. And Mason Rudolph is somewhere. He's close to the Bridgewater end of the spectrum, but he's a little bit further up.
He's right at the spectrum.
They're giving him a little bit more control, where they are taking some deep shots, but they're really minimizing what he has to do. It's a lot of short passes to the running backs and not a lot of downfield stuff at all. And they actually ran a lot of wildcat with Jalen Samuels taking snaps and James Conner in the backfield. And both backs had very good days in this game. So, yeah, it's an interesting offense to watch, but they are not a good team, and they beat a worse team, and that's all there is.
Yeah, I this was the only game where I stopped halfway.
I did not even watch this game.
I looked at it and I'm like, fuck off.
Like I knew going in it was going to be a bad game, and I just I have better things.
I expected nothing, and I was still disappointed.
Yes. So that's all the games from Week 4 of the NFL season, and we finished recapping them just a little bit before Week 5 starts. So yeah, that's it for the games. Would you like to move on?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. So, do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
For music?
Yeah.
I mean, I'll go first because Sublime.
Sure.
This album, I mean, it has been an album I'm quite familiar with for a long, long time, and to this day, I think songs like Pawn Shop, with such a slick bass line, they do kind of overextend it. These are some of the few instances where ska is very easy to consume and is not tacky. It doesn't have this tacky sound to it. There is a lot of slick songwriting, a lot of like the a lot of the emotion of living in Los Angeles at the time, and a lot of that is actually fully on display through the entire album with love songs like Caress Me Down, which have like this smooth, feel to it. But you have April 29th, you got What I Got, you got all these very smooth songs, you got Doing Time, and which are all these
Yeah. By
really
the way,
reflect 1994
I do want to just
LA.
note about this. Unlike the singer from Sublime, I do get angry when my mom smokes pot, hits the bottle, and goes right to the rock. I just had to throw that in there.
All right, fair enough. So yeah,
Yeah,
on to you, I believe.
yeah, and by the way, very sad album because of course the singer died of an overdose before it was released.
Well, yeah, yeah, that's
of course
well
there's
known, I
that.
believe. Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, moving on to Charlie. So I actually did okay. Now there were parts of this album that I just was like, okay, what the hell am I even listening to? But of course, that's going to be true of almost every album. The parts that I did like of this, I actually really did get into. There were a few songs that I really enjoyed, and I mean, I said this when you recommended this initially. I do like well done pop music, like some,
Yeah.
a lot of pop music I just find annoying, but when it's done well, I like it, and I
I
like
think
a lot
pop
of.
is like right. This year has been my favorite year for pop in all ever. Honestly, like most of my favorite albums of this year have been pop records.
Hmm.
I've shown you two of them, and one of them you hated, but a lot
Yeah,
of people
well,
hate 100 gex. So you know what? Won't
mhm.
fault you for it.
But anyway, yeah, I did like this album. So you hit with this one.
What would you say was your favorite track?
I don't really know. A
I,
lot of them kind of blended together, and I didn't really pay too close of attention to like the titles.
I mean, the intro is
As I
so
was
good, though. I don't know.
Okay.
I loved it all. I don't know.
It is pretty good. I mean, largely, it is good. I liked it. So, yeah.
So yeah,
Um.
I don't know.
Oh,
Since
White Mercedes was one that stood out. Actually,
what? Yeah.
that one, I don't know why, but it felt like I had heard that song before, and I know I haven't. I know I haven't, but there was something about it that was like, this sounds like weirdly familiar, and I could not place it, like what it sounded like that I had heard. But I kind of liked it for that reason, if for no other.
Ah, man. There's so much about this album I love. The production is unbelievable, and the way she gets all these names and collaborations on
Yeah.
a pop record, it's very. Charlie is at
Can I say though that of all of the people that it features,
yeah.
I've only heard of one.
Which one?
I've heard of Lizzo and did not like it.
You don't
I
like?
do not. No, because I don't know. It's like it's just that one song that gets super overplayed that I hate. But anyway, whatever.
All right.
I don't.
I'm surprised it wasn't Troy Sivan.
I have never heard of that person.
Or Cupcake. Cupcake. Have you never heard the song? It goes lick, 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 lick. I want to eat your dick. Won't fuck
Okay,
up my nails.
I have
Pick
heard
it
of
up with
that,
chopsticks. Mouth
but I
wide
didn't know
open.
that that's
Mouth
who
wide
that
open.
was.
Mouth wide open like I was at the dentist.
I have heard that, but I didn't know that that's who that was.
Yes, that is. She's on this record.
Okay.
So yeah, there's that one.
Anyway, yeah. So should we go on to next time?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. I'll go first this time because I have to preface this by saying that
Do you
I
want to
mentioned
do one this time, by the way?
yeah, we can.
Because you're saying you're running out, which means like, we can just do it like every other time if you want.
Well, I want to keep doing it until I really do run out, and then I'll take that extra week. But okay, this one, I am having trouble finding albums to recommend to you because, of course, you've just heard way more music than me, and so you have a much larger sort of library to pick from.
Yeah.
And most of the time, I kind of have to like go in and actually listen to an album, sometimes for the first time, and then decide if it's good and worth recommending to you. And so this is what I'm recommending this time. This is music that my parents listened to a lot when I was a kid, and so I kind of like heard it a lot and can kind of it has a sort of weird association with me. And so I like it for that reason. But anyway, the album is The Stranger by Billy Joel.
Billy Joel.
Yeah. Any thoughts immediately when I said that?
We're going way back, aren't we?
Yeah.
We are going back in time. If nothing else. Yeah. So I'm gonna display this one.
And this album does have several songs that I actually really like on it. But, you know, it's Billy Joel.
Uh-huh.
So it's not like the kind of music I normally listen to, but I like it.
I'm not the most familiar with Billy Joel, to be fair, so I'm just gonna.
All right, cool. You'll probably recognize some of the songs on this album.
Piano Man on this?
No, Piano Man's not on this one.
All right.
But you'll probably recognize at least 3 to 5 of them that you've just heard at some point in your life. That's my guess.
All right. Well, I can't. If I say I can't remember if I've shown you this band, would you understand? Have I shown you Clipping?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Well, it is that time of year where, you know, the spookiness does reach its maximum potential.
Oh, jeez.
And it is time to listen to. This isn't edgy, it's spooky.
Okay.
Their new album coming out is gonna be that. So, at least it appears to be that. I think I showed you Splendor and Misery on the car trip, actually.
Oh,
it was
that's
a space
possible.
rap album.
Okay, I really don't know.
All right. Well, I'm gonna show you the album called Clipping, but like imagine spelling clipping without the vowels. That's how the album is spelled. All right.
Okay.
It's CLPPNG.
Okay, and the artist's name is
Clipping. Clipping with a period at the end.
Okay.
Lowercase clipping with a period at the end.
Okay. All right.
The lead singer of this band is, I guess the rapper. He is the guy who played Lafayette in Alexander Hamilton. The Hamilton.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's him. So if you ever saw that in...
I didn't, but okay, cool.
This is huge. There we are. Yeah, that is my recommendation. I'm thoroughly into Clipping. Clipping's one of my favorite rap groups. I'm surprised I actually haven't shown you to them. Shown you them?
Well, all right. I will listen to it, I guess, and we'll see how it goes.
All right.
But yeah, that's it. How have you been, Bryce?
I've been quite good, you know.
I feel like we should just end the podcast there with like you in mid sentence, like, yeah, I've been good. End of podcast.
Oh man. But in any case, yeah, I've been just schooling.
Yeah.
Algorithms has been, kind of. Yeah, first he sucks. Yeah, first he kind of sucks.
Yeah, you finally got to that point, huh?
Um, he just kind of sucks. I don't know.
Yep, just in general, he is a bad teacher.
I think this is the thing about First.
Like he's a good. Here's what I'll say. He's a good instructor. He's a terrible teacher. If that makes sense.
He wishes. I think he views himself like Scott, and how like he teaches. I really think he does, but he's not.
No, he's hands down, and I mean, this is personal opinion, of course, but he is hands down the worst teacher I ever had at any level. That is that is my opinion.
He's not the worst for me. Savasme is so much worse, and you never had Savasme though. Savasme is the worst teacher I've ever had in any metric ever. I learned more about databases in software engineering than I did in database systems.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. That's a teacher I never had, so I can't really, compare them to Fursey.
He's supposed to be replacing naps. I hate it.
I know. It's awful. I hate him so much. And like he does teach, like his lectures, you learn a lot, but like he's just the worst human being. Like I want, oh my god.
He just fundamentally
honestly
doesn't
say-
understand though.
Like I was taught when I was in elementary school that you should never say hate because hate is a strong word and you never should hate people. I hate Fursey. I really do. Like he is the only person on this planet that I absolutely hate. Him and Vontez Perfect, but I'm sure Perfect's not even that bad of a guy off the field.
Yeah, sure. I don't know.
I'm kidding, of course.
I might be too scared to do anything.
I'm kidding, of course. I don't actually hate Vontez Perfect. I've never met him, so But Fursey I have met, and I do hate him. And you know what? I've graduated, so he can't do anything to me now.
Yeah, that's how that works.
Anyway, and he's not the department chair anymore, so he has even less power.
Yeah, it's GT, who is arguably the best teacher left.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
You got Scott and
I
you got Crone,
personally-
and I've never had Crone.
I like Crone. I had him for one class. I'm partial to Scott because I did a practicum with him, and like
Scott's nice though, but he's
Like,
Scott's not
I've
a
worked more
teacher.
with
He's
Scott than
trying to
anybody.
be a friend. That's the problem with Scott. He always tries to be your friend, and it's like in a professional sense, it falls flat, right?
I don't know. I feel like I had a pretty good relationship with Scott.
No, I had one too. He's great. He's my advisor.
Yeah, and he's just a good teacher, I think.
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah. I mean, I think he does this thing that everyone hates, where he tells you, like he gives you the wrong answer, but tells you how to do it wrong, and then says, "Well, this is wrong." By the way, so this is
Yeah,
how you
but
really
that's
do
just-
it. This is a common pit hole that people go through. So a lot of people just like remember the wrong way.
Yeah, that happens. But anyway, yeah, cool. So, yeah, how have I been? Well, Tuesday sucked. That was pretty terrible.
What did you have to do Tuesday?
Tuesday, it's nothing I had to do. It's something that I did of my own free will, and I was very sad afterwards.
What'd you do? Oh, did you
The National League wild card game. The Brewers lost.
did you go to the Brewers?
No, because it was in Washington D.C.
Yeah, that's what I was supposed to say.
But no,
I
I
watched the
watched.
game and I watched how quick it ended because it looked hopeful and then it
man.
just the ending is just so anticlimactic.
Here's the thing. I never expected the Brewers to win. And so like you would think like, okay, they lost. I was expecting them to lose. Oh well. But I also never expected them to be that close to winning. You know? They were up 3-1 in the 8th inning, and then suddenly it was all gone. Like it was just all gone.
and then nothing but death occurred.
Yeah, I mean, it was that one swing of the bat that drove in the 3 runs to take the lead, and then the game was just done. The Brewers couldn't do anything in the 9th. Just 3 up, 3 down, and end of season. But ultimately, still a good season for the Brewers, especially given that they lost Christian Yelich in September, to then go and do what they did without their best player was pretty impressive. But yeah, obviously disappointing as a Brewers fan, but I'm looking forward to next year. And of course, all I really ask from the Brewers, Bucks, and Packers is that they maintain my interest through the duration of the season and into the postseason. And if they can do that, then I am happy as a sports fan.
Fair enough.
So,
And on that note, I believe.
yeah, we are ready to go.
All right.
So I've been Raquel Armstead, and he's been Gardner Minshew. We'll see you guys next time.
The Jockstrap King.